Everybody's here except Art, and he has an excused absence. He's at a funeral this morning. I think everybody else is here. Just as a point of information, this seems to be the right place to do it. You've probably been following Marsha Martin in the newspaper and so on. Apparently she's going to be out of the area at her, she's leased a place in New York, I understand, with her daughter's got some issues. And she may or may not be back this fall. And if she makes it to December 1st, as I understand the city rules, she may have to resign at that.
Yeah, I think maybe they're looking at that, but yeah.
So, but she did send me an email. I inquired how she was doing, and she said it was, she didn't say it's tough, but I'm sure it is tough. And she sends her regards to the board. She really enjoys working with the board, so I want to pass that along.
So, I'm wondering, do you think that it would be nice if we sent to the city council or to somebody and said, she's been we've involved with us and we appreciate all of her work and we look forward to working with her in the future, and just letting them know that we're sort of behind her a little bit, or not? I mean, that's just a thought.
Yeah.
I think it'd be very nice. It would just be a nice gesture to show her support.
Yeah, I think, because they certainly seem to be getting enough negative.
Yes, it's right, somewhat unfair, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea. Any volunteers?
Oh, no.
That's something I would do, Lonnie.
School dollars well spent.
Let's say, how do we want to do that? We have a volunteer to put something together to forward to the city council. John will do it. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. I think you know the sentiment of the group, so that'd be great. All right, approval of the agenda. Are there any additions to the agenda? I have one. I think we need to put the OHA back under future agenda items. We really haven't gotten to that. Did you still want LHA on the agenda, Lonnie? Under future items?
Well, see, here's the thing. Sheila had thought it might be a good idea to get a developer and to get Molly O'Donnell to both come in and talk about different aspects of housing.
Right.
Molly had already been here, and she was pretty clear about the affordable housing and that sort of thing. If people still want to hear about attainable housing or from the developer side, we could do that. But I think Molly has pretty much given a good assessment and a good, view. Everybody was here for that, right? Was everybody? Molly O'Donnell from LHA?
It was like a year ago.
That was about a year ago. Yes.
The housing department also had a bit of a restructure, so there's actually an assistant director, Lauren Selly. And so if you're considering, talking about or learning about housing authority and kind of what they're working on currently, I think Lauren might be a good fit.
Well, I'm thinking, and I know that Lauren is new. If we want to learn about attainable housing, Lauren is strictly housing authority.
Right. There's the other side, affordable housing side of it.
Yeah. If we want to learn what's going on in the city as far as affordable and attainable housing goes, I think it needs to be somebody other than Lauren. Molly, I thought, could also talk about attainable, but I don't know that maybe somebody else.
They have Christy Weissman and Katie Silvas are the two people that oversee those two areas as well.
Okay.
And Molly could, of course, give an overview of everything LHA, like she is the director of that department. But if you want to meet the new staff, that would also be.
I just think it would be nice to hear what's going on in the city total.
Right.
Yeah. So maybe.
Well, I think the housing is certainly something we want to keep up on.
Sure.
And I'll throw it back to you, as far as, we're working towards a presentation next spring for March or April. When do you think the timing would be good for someone to come back in again?
I think maybe like October or November
Okay,
Of this year or
of
next?
this year.
that'd be about a year.
I'm wondering if we want to wait until next year when they've got a few more things developed as far as housing goes and see what that is, but.
Well, we could always do like February.
Well, let's just wait until, let's tentatively plan on October, but if there doesn't seem to be anything new, we'll wait until the following year.
Okay.
So I'll kind of leave it up to you, frankly. That's
Okay.
All right?
All right, I'm kind of pushing towards next year, so
Okay,
that makes sense that the longer we wait, the more we'd hear about.
okay, okay.
Okay?
Well, I'll vouch
So,
for
but
your
we can
judgment.
put that on hold for now.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Then never mind what I just said about adding that to the agenda.
That's okay.
All right. All right, someone make a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Okay, so moved and
Second.
second by Lonnie. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of the minutes, last month's minutes, and the corrections or additions to the minutes. Very nice job, by the way.
I looked through them, I thought they looked pretty good. I can make a motion to approve.
Okay, there's a motion to approve. Is there a second? There's a second. John? Any other discussion? Any other comments? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, public invited to be heard. Is there anybody here? That wouldn't be you, Chuck, would it?
Could be.
Could be.
I'll see him. That's it.
All right. Seeing none, we'll move on. Old business. Updates, I don't know, John, I know you've got some material, and we'll get to Arlene and Lonnie shortly. So, John.
Well, covered a lot of ground since our last meeting discussing about this. In addition to individual phone calls amongst the group, because we haven't quite get the group meetings together with the city recording, so we meet individually on the phone. This is known as the kick. So you got some conversation with various food groups in the county, and we asked about senior needs, how to make a food hub work, food availability, and community notification. I think a minute each for my committee members to meet to discuss what they've done. Is that possible now?
I didn't hear that last time.
Can I ask the committee members to give a quick report on what they've done?
Oh, okay. Perfect.
As far as the answers?
1 minute? Okay, this will be fast.
It'll take a minute and a half.
Oh, thank you,
Don't worry.
so generous. Okay, so I talked with Naomi Curlin, who's the Longmont Food Rescue. And she's also does refrigerators, and it's all been so interesting. Their group is a volunteer group. They put 2 refrigerators in Longmont. They would love to put one here at the senior center. Pre-COVID, they had a table here at the senior center, giving out food once a month. She'd love to set that up again, and she really wants to come to our board meeting, the September meeting. I don't know how we go about that, but
Just invite her.
just invite her because she said she's willing to come September. And I think it'd be good to hear from her because she wants to give a refrigerator to the senior center.
Oh.
So that's a good thing. I have a whole report, but I only have a minute and a half.
No, take it, John. Take whatever you need.
Katie Weiser, here, Meals on Wheels at the senior center. They serve 500 meals a day. 95% of them are delivered. Meals are free Monday through Wednesday, Tuesday, and Friday, $2. Katie's not sure how much longer that can survive because of money. It's the Meals on Wheels is the busiest it's ever been in history. And they are outside of Denver, this Meals on Wheels is the busiest. So that says a lot. Of course, Katie, too, would like to have a contract with the city of Boulder so that they have more money. It's really, it's just so important. Okay, so the last person I spoke with, which of course is where I volunteer at the R Center on Collier Street, and I just think the world of that place because they do so much. I think it's the most food functioning place in Longmont because they serve breakfast and dinner. Volunteers serve a meal on weekends. So they have a food market there, donated food from all over. They have volunteers that go pick up food from King Soopers, Whole Foods. And then people come in, new clients, and any client, and they pick up the food. Now, they serve a lot of seniors, but anybody can go to this. All you have to prove is that you live in the St. Vrain Food District. The cafe serves breakfast and lunch on weekdays. And seniors are an important part of their clients, but they serve everybody. Kevin is willing to help us with our food hub. But he has to go through the development director for that. And John and I were wondering, where do you get plastic bags? Kevin, I mean, that's a big issue, you know, when you're doing food. And Kevin said they order them from Sam's Club. It's a detail, but it's important, you know. And their food comes from Community Food Share, which is where so many people get their food. Regional food stores and donation. If they have excess food, it's donated to the food rescue. So I was quick. So Ronnie, I have a question for you. I don't know what the finances are at the senior center. Is there any money if we did have our food here? Or is that not a senior center endeavor?
So right now, our budget is not able to support this work towards food insecurities. But there's other avenues that we can look at, right? We could have conversations with our friends board, if they see value in this work to support.
So do we get most of our money from friends and the city?
Those are our two resources, yes.
Those two resources. Okay.
There's other things we can explore as well as a board. What grants are available to support this work as well. There's things we can look at.
Okay.
There's no reason though that you couldn't put it in your budget. I mean, you could request it.
Could request.
Yeah.
And it would just be supplies, bags and things like that. It wouldn't be food. We wouldn't be paying for the food. We'd just be paying for the extras.
And that request wouldn't go in until 2026 because
Oh,
this
2026.
budget, right? And I just heard last night at the city council meeting, Harold made it clear that he's not looking to fund any level 2, which would be new programs, any level 2 programs because of the state of the budget next year. And so it really is about maintaining our current level of services and not adding anything new. So that has a budgetary impact, as well as, the staffing piece of things. I would ask, what kind of staff involvement would that take? Because I think that's something that Ronnie would have to look at in terms of current work capacity, or is it all volunteer?
So
That's a bummer.
I am really big into donations, and so for things like maybe boxes of bags or pens or pencils or something like that, it would seem to me that approaching maybe even Sam's Club and saying, would you be willing to donate a couple of boxes of things to the senior center for the distribution of food to low-income seniors? I mean, I always am into that, asking for donations before we're willing to pay for something. So I think that's something to look into.
Yeah.
Did they talk about did anybody talk about any sort of licensing that
No.
we would need to have?
No, did not. At the R Center, we all come in and volunteer, no one has a license.
Right, there's not like, they don't have like a food safety license. I know that's something that we were
Maybe.
required to do at the youth center.
Now, maybe Kevin does, and I can ask him about that.
That might be something to
But
consider.
the volunteers certainly
We need to
don't,
know
yeah.
before we started anything.
Right,
Mhm.
right.
Yeah, actually, Ronnie brought that up, he's talked to the city attorney about it, and it appears we might.
Yeah.
We wanna come back and give a description we're doing to be sure about that.
Yeah,
And then if so, I'll get in this in my report about the community food share wants to provide all the food. And they want to do a memo of understanding with the city and go through all that process, which they've done elsewhere. And one of the things that I have on my list to ask them about is licensing, work under theirs, or that's set up by the city. In all of our discussions with the group, we have no desire or see any need for staffing from the city. Helping volunteers, which that comes later, asking for help.
Other than the setup of the tables and chairs, would be all, yeah.
Are there any? Lonnie?
I just want to say that through another organization I am involved in, we go to Sam's Club and they just give us like a gift card. They just say, here, you know,
wow.
go ahead,
I really
you
need
can
that.
buy whatever you want.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Most
they're
places
very
are willing to
easy about it.
donate,
I
yeah.
think Target may be too.
Mhm.
But I'd be happy to start looking into that because that's something that's like my wheelhouse. I know how to do that. So.
If we do that, Ronnie, Christina, we get to identify ourselves, and we have
They
we
get
can wear our badges, of course, that we're part of the Friends or part of the advisory board. We don't want to step across any lines where the city doesn't want us to do that. Is there a limitation?
I've never been asked that question before. It's usually staff that is doing the work. I think it's something that we can, let us check on that
Okay.
and see what, recreation has ever done that, if children and families.
We'll do a
Let
list
us,
of,
let
we'll
us
do a
ask.
list of who we want to talk to.
Yeah.
One of them in my report is Subaru. They do pet food.
Oh,
And-
Yeah, they're really good to me.
And they brought that up, so what about pet food? And I thought, well, I hadn't thought about that. But that's what people want to talk to before we make those kind of community contacts, we'll make sure we don't cross
Check
their
on that.
boundaries.
Yeah, we'll check on that.
Okay.
I hope this isn't the same question. I didn't hear everything you said, so I hope I'm not repeating.
Okay.
Are there any sources of revenue from the community that we cannot accept?
Sources of revenue from the community, I would say anything connected to political campaigns, or political candidates, is, something I can think of off the top of my head.
Okay, that's good to know.
The Friends organization does not accept contributions from political parties or politicians. So, as a general rule of thumb.
Good idea.
I have one last
Okay,
question.
okay, Ann?
Ronnie, I read in our wonderful new go, congratulations, fabulous, that when there is a food drive here, canned foods, it's given to the Table of Hope Food Pantry. Would we be able to, if need be, these are all thoughts, as you know, would that be able to change and be donated to the senior center?
Depends on the direction we go and what we can and can't
Yeah.
accept, right, from community. and
Yeah, I'm not
individuals.
familiar with this place.
Right.
I had to look it up.
Right.
It's East Ken Pratt, yeah.
And so I think once we identify what direction we want to go as a board with this work, is that we are providing canned foods? Are we providing prepared and packaged meals? Are we providing food to be served at our location directly? I think once we start there, identifying what we need in place to support that. Is it the license? Is it are we okay without it because we're serving packaged food? But I think once we identify where we want to go, then we can explore
Yeah,
some of those options.
yeah. We're getting closer, but
Right.
it's huge.
There's just so many unknown variables right now for me to answer that question.
Okay, thank you.
But once we have clear focus of the direction we're going and what supports we need in place, then we can
Okay.
look at that.
Okay, thank you, Ann. Was that your last item?
Yes,
Okay.
I worked with 3 people.
Okay.
Molly?
I worked with Christina. She gave me a lot of information about all over the city and the county, all different groups that are involved in the in food distribution. It was kind of frightening at first to look at all those places and think, you know, how are we going to do this? So I think we need to really slim down what we're looking at, where we're going to be doing it. When I first started looking into this, my thought was that we really need to go into a community that is underserved. Okay, we really need to go out and find them. You know, go out and be there to the places where people live who don't leave their homes, who can't really get out to come to any of the places that already distribute food. So along that line, I saw that what's the Longmont Food Share? No, Longmont Food Rescue. They have to take their refrigerator out of Agape, which was up across from Walmart on Main Street. And they were looking for a place to put the refrigerator.
Yeah, they still are.
Right. My thought is there any way we can have that refrigerator at Lashley? I think that's closer to communities that are underserved than this building. I think Historic West Side is kind of, you know, they're kind of doing okay. I would like to see us go to a place that needs, you know, where the needs are and that aren't being served as well. That was an idea that I tossed to John when I saw it. I forwarded the Facebook post and said, is there any way we can do something about their need to put this refrigerator someplace? I understand, I should have started out with this. I understand that we want to have something here because it will enhance letting people know about the new hours that the the senior center is going to be open. Okay, I know that's a direction that everybody's looking in, and I understand that. I get that, and I think it's smart. It'll let people know that there's a lot of activity going on. But I also think we can't forget the fact that we should be looking at places that need to be covered, need neighborhoods that are underserved. And we can be still developing this whole thing, making this our hub, but we can also be looking into extending it to other areas. So, let me put it to you, Ronnie. What do you think about having a refrigerator at Lashley?
So I think that goes back to my response to Ann, is once we have an identified focus, because we need to know what, depending on what direction we go, you know, if we need to have licenses in place to do that work. You know,
That's true, I hadn't.
Right, and so is this refrigerator, again, going back to, is this refrigerator holding perishable items, fresh fruit, fresh vegetables, prepackaged meals? I mean, that will determine whether or not it is an option. And the reason why I say that is if we're having two locations, top of my head, and again, depending on what we're serving, we would have to have a license for our location and that location license as well.
There'll be some liability involved too.
Right, and also taking into consideration that is a shared space as well with CYF, Children in the Family, and Recreation.
Oh, okay.
And so we would have to, at that point, again, once we have direction and focus, and if that is the direction we go, looping them into the conversation to say, hey, you know, again, shared space, is this something that you can support? Does this impact your programs that you have scheduled here at these spaces and those things?
Right.
I think the other thing to think about with regards to that facility is that it's not staffed 24/7. People really go in to do programs. But one of the things that I just kind of whispered to Ronnie is to coordinate with our Children, Youth, and Families Division Manager, because they're kind of working on the same thing. And the youth center actually has a food safety license that was given to them through that they got through public health, and they have a refrigerator. And so at the youth center, just right across the parking lot. But I think again, depending on what direction you go, there probably is the opportunity to leverage some of that work, just depending on where you land. I think Ronnie could have a conversation with his colleague Hilda to see how that may or may not work. I don't know what their capacity would be to take that on as well, but it could be centralized and everybody knows the needs and well on the east side of town.
Right, because that's what I was thinking, is to find things, places in neighborhoods that people know enough to go to, already have another purpose there. It's a gathering place for whatever reason. And make that a place that we could have pop-ups and make food available. So, but I'm wondering if Longmont Food Rescue has a license. I'm wondering if that's something that they bring with them when they bring a refrigerator.
I don't know. They didn't
We
get
could
their
find out.
refrigerator from Food Rescue, but I know that for a long time Food Rescue did do drop-offs there.
Okay.
But I think it's a smart idea to
Good question.
No.
I've said this great questions and great recommendations.
Yeah,
And
good
I
idea.
think it's a good idea to partner with something that's already going on, and just to enhance something that we can work with somebody else on. So.
Arlene is next.
Arlene?
Well, I'm trying to think of all we've talked about. First off, the big issue is going to be, how are we going to get people here if they cannot get here? And so one of the things that John and I did is that we met with city staff to talk about transportation options. And well, it's pretty slim right now. So we've got some ideas from them as to places to look and people to talk to. So we will be pursuing that here pretty soon. As far as microtransit goes, which is one thing we thought maybe would be the way to go, it is not gonna work for what we're talking about here. We also did talk about the fact that let's get it going and get it started here and then branch out. And we did talk about Lashley. The thing that I'm kind of confused about is it seems to me like we are not going to prep, we are not going to cook, we are not going to serve, we are going to be strictly a distribution site. So I'm not sure why that would require a license or even a food handler's permit, since we're going to say, here you go, folks, here's a bag, take what you want. So that's where I'm kind of confused a little bit about the whole thing. But I think it's great, and yes, we need to reach other people. And that was another thing that we talked to Zach about, because he had indicated to us that he could overlay onto the map that they had different areas of town to show us, some breakdowns of gender and age and all that kind of stuff. We had asked for it according to wards, because if we know what ward it's in, then we know what council member to approach. And of course, your at-large people are the whole county. That doesn't quite work because they don't have it broken down like that. So we're still working on that. But yeah, I think right now, let's get it started. I would hate to see us get it started and have 3 people show up the first day. That's not a whole lot of people, but if we're just a distribution site, people can come in. And then as it grows, then yeah, I think we look at Lashley, because that definitely is. I mean, Lashley does not have carpeting, so that's kind of nice too. But we would have to set up tables and chairs on it. Which we could do if we had to. So basically, transportation right now is out there.
And I talked to Lauren too, I kind of forgot about this whole thing, and she said the best thing to do is get the GIS maps and to overlay them and to find out where the areas where seniors live the most, or large amounts of seniors, and where the distribution already is of food. And then you'll see where they're lacking. You'll see the areas where seniors live that aren't covered. And that would give us some idea of a direction to go in.
And that's what we asked for, and it wasn't exactly available the way we were looking at it. But yeah, I mean, the information is there. It's just a matter of getting it. Yeah.
So one of the things we discovered early on, as everyone talked to people, there's a lot of need everywhere.
Yeah, it sure is.
So that problem we had was getting it focused here and using the senior center as that food hub. I met with Ronnie early on to determine the desirability and availability of the senior center, and Ronnie jumped right in and said, yes, the extended hours going into place in September, let's start doing it then. So we have a place. Second thing was finding food. All the members have talked to different people, and community food share kept coming up as the supplier. You might remember the last meeting, 13 million pounds of food are distributed by them a year. Most of it comes to Longmont. So they have the ability, they have the food coming in. When I talked to Kim Da Silva, the CEO of Community Food Share, first thing she said was, food is not a problem. We'll get it to you. And she suggested partnering with somebody specifically in Longmont, possibly around licensing and what have you, but that they would either the hour center or she'll help us find that person. Said if there's no group in Longmont that wants to partner with you, we'll deliver it to you here at the facility and you can take it from there. So that's in the works. Mm-hmm. They're very organized about this. They do it all in the county. They do it in Broomfield County and Boulder County. So as I said earlier, they have a memo of understanding, want to create, so we come to the city and say, here's what they'd like us to do. Is that okay with the city? The hope is, again, we're finding lots of need. Start here at the senior center. I know we can expand out from there. One of the groups that Arlene and I spoke, or was directed to speak to, is the community neighborhood and resources, neighborhood resources.
Yeah.
As a way of finding not only where people have the need, but how we might distribute there. Once we have it successful here, it's important to have a pilot we can show to the council that it works here. We'd like to expand it out. Here's our requests. So that's pretty much where we've gotten. We've got the food supply. We've got the place to come to. There's some details to check on. How do we get people here? Some ideas about that. There's some ideas about getting the bags or whatever to distribute the food. We're looking to give ourselves as much time as possible, mid to late September, on a Saturday, 8 to 11-ish, for us to do that. Ronnie's volunteered to have the custodial staff help set us up on Friday. Need to find out when the food's coming in and how to store it when it gets here. We'll also get menus from Community Food Share. They'll tell us what's coming so we know how to set up. Longmont Food Rescue has offered some of their foods too, so we'll coordinate that as we get closer. Several things we found out for future is going back to the advisory board and saying, can we call you and who do you know? Are there other organizations we can call to support as we get out there? We don't want to, like I said, we don't want to duplicate what's already being done. In order to do that, we have to find out who's out there doing what they do so we can coordinate with them. Right. So if anybody here has groups, we may give each a call and say, do you know anybody we can count on? Are they doing this already? Is there a need for future when we find more food? It seems like finding the food is not the issue. Community Food Share said, we have no problem with that. We have to be able to distribute it legitimately and so funding transportation, possibly funds that came up. So you can't use microtransit. We may have to get funding for getting buses, what's it called, 8 Black or
8 Black.
One of the people we're talking to.
Airport shuttle.
Really?
To see if they would help with that.
They did that?
Well, we're gonna ask.
Yeah, exactly. They do some community work, so.
So far, we've found a lot of reasons, a lot of things we have to do. We have to find out who's going to do it with us. So that's the process that we're going through. And about licensing, what to do with the food that we don't distribute. Either it goes to Longmont Food Rescue or someone else. The biggest thing we find so far is how do we get this word out to people?
Yeah.
That's one thing the Community Food Share said is their biggest issue, not the food, not the volunteers. It's getting people to know what's available. How do we get out to the widest range of people? We don't know yet. No idea.
So is there a way that we can advertise in the newspaper? And we can have like, instead of just having a little thing like this, that, sort of a nice,
Like a public service?
yeah, something, so that we could say, hey, we're starting this, yada, 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 at the senior center. And then each month we could say, here we are, remember, here's how we're going on. And I don't know what that would cost. I'm sure the newspaper's probably not gonna give it to us free. But Maybe we could ask him, you
How
know,
about PSAs?
Yes.
over what?
Public service.
Radio
Same
station?
I think we might be able to do a public service announcement, but we'd have to look into it.
Yes, we'd like to
I
find
used to
out
use that a lot.
if the city has resources we might be able to talk to, not for them to do the work, but to tell us what we might go with. We'll chat.
Right, and I think when it gets to that point, there are some resources available that we can utilize, things that we have control of, right? Advertising, thinking plus marketplace, using our bi-weekly newsletter, putting it in the Go, using our Facebook platform as well. But then as for anything outside of that, we have to look in the comms team to see what we can use citywide to help communicate this.
We don't want any demand on staff, and funds aren't available at this point yet. We'll see what comes up. We'd like to at least get resources we can check out, that you know that we can check out. We don't want to put that burden on you.
And
So, John, what's the next step?
I think we've got some ideas about communication. Like I said, the food set up, the place is set up, so it's transportation and communication to neighborhoods and whatever to get people here. Like I said, we don't want to have 3 people show up and all this food sit here. So I think our next step will be find out about communication, get the memo of understanding from Community Food Share, see if we're going to partner with Longmont Food Rescue with the Community Food Share, get that local community person. The Community Food Share wants to partner with somebody and us here. So we'll find out what that means. We'll report back to the board.
Are you saying you'd work, that's your work for the next month and report on it next month?
Next month will be find out about memo of understanding, solidify the relationship with Community Food Share, find out how to advertise this as broadly as possible, and find out about transportation and what it may cost us to rent from 8 Black, or if the city has some resource we can pay for to get help with that.
It's interesting, food is not the problem.
So,
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
so I just have one last comment, and I'm pretty adamant about this.
Okay.
I don't want stuff showing up that's already spoiled. I don't want stuff showing up that's already outdated. Our seniors deserve better than that. And I've seen this at other places, and it's like, no, we're not going to forget the fact that our seniors deserve better than that. And so the stuff that they get is going to be good. And I'm pretty adamant about
So
that. I don't mind throwing stuff away that is.
Yeah. Have you seen that with Community Food Share?
I haven't seen it here, I don't think.
No, but what I've seen is stuff that they're not gonna.
And one of the groups that approached us was Community Fruit Share, Longmont Fruit Rescue.
Yeah.
And they pick fruit, but they also, pick up what's on the ground. They're careful, but we don't want secondhand food. We want, and that's not expired foods, whatever. And everyone we've spoken to, but Arlene says she's adamant, she's not kidding. She's very direct about that. So we're very clear to people we're talking to who want, and Community Food Share says that it's not an issue with us.
Yeah.
We sort through this stuff very carefully.
No, I wouldn't cross her.
And one thing I want to say about communication, that's going to be baby steps, figuring out how to make it bigger, because we could start by letting people know and then use the resources you're talking about. But we also have to remember that there are plenty of people out there who need food, who don't have a computer, who don't get get the information online and things like that. They may get the Go Book, but they don't really get anything else. So this is going to be a step-by-step process as far as, starting smaller, making it bigger, and expanding continually where we're covering.
So,
Yeah.
have you said at 6 in Maine that you're.
Yeah.
Arlene,
I'll do one of those signs that you flip
I'm
around.
done. I'm just talking.
Oh, you're done? Okay. And you got one more?
Okay, and just a few comments. The people I spoke with are all aware of the hidden hungry out there.
Mhm.
They're all trying to find ways to reach them. And 2, the Longmont music station that plays soft music all day advertises the senior center on it. We could add the food onto that. And then we need bins or something to put lettuce in, or tomatoes, or
It depends on how it's delivered.
yeah.
You have to see whether in a
And
box.
John's going to come over to the R Center with me someday And so he can look and see how it's set up there, just for ideas, you know?
So would Longmont Public Media be able to advertise for us as well?
I can look into that.
Okay.
Okay. Well, there's a lot of things to look into. Good work, everybody. Really,
One last thing?
that's good. Yes,
One,
that's
really one. One last thing.
Yeah, okay.
I want to thank Lonnie for when he just jumped right and said, as soon as we said we had a need, he was there with offering the senior center. Christina is amazing as far as who she knows here. When you ask Christina a question, all of a sudden she starts doing emails for you. The response we got from that was really helpful. Thank you both very much.
Thank you, yeah.
Yes,
And
I think
these
it's
three,
great.
talk about contacts and enthusiasm. You guys have been great. Really make this so much easier for me. I get some of the credit. You guys get all the credit. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's a good idea. I'm happy to work, keep it moving.
John's been busy.
It must be a good idea. I got butterflies in my stomach, and I do that when it's the unknown, which is good.
You're gonna help.
Hmm?
You're gonna help with the food.
Bring your butterflies. We need no help. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you all.
Arlene, do you have anything further to add on transportation?
No, because pretty much everything is pretty much the same, so I know I sent a note to Ronnie and said, you know, we're just sort of kind of moving along like normal, so don't waste a sheet of paper on it.
Okay,
No report.
okay. Lonnie?
I got something in the email online from the Boulder County Agency on Aging, and it was about a person who was going to be speaking at a meeting we were going to have in August, and it got canceled. But it was about Vision Zero.
Vision Zero.
So I contacted her and I said, I'm curious, who would be a person to contact about that? And it turns out to be an old neighbor of mine who lives right here in historic West Side. And her name is Cammie Edson. And she's been the person referred to. So I was wondering if there's any way we can get her on an agenda.
Well, Vision Zero is part of Longmont now, right?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
presented last night,
Yeah.
the council, Cammie and Bill and.
Did they?
Mm-hmm. So we could have them do it. In fact, I thought that Jeff was gonna arrange for them one time to come talk to us, but
Okay, good. What would that be? Put that under future agenda items?
That would be transportation. It would be Vision Zero.
Visions, okay.
Yeah.
I'll email them now and copy you.
Okay. Anything further, Lonnie? Annual report. You have that, it should be about, well, I don't know where you got it in your packet, but the annual report. Yeah, I thought I saw Brandy in here.
She came and dropped off some items for.
Oh, I see, okay. Does that go along with the annual report?
No.
Oh, okay. This annual report is not, this is the, I think the fourth one that I've seen. So this is not new. It's basically the same format that the senior center staff has been doing, Brandy, I think primarily, for the last 4 years. Ronnie sent out, I thought this would be good for everybody to see because it's really our only record as far as the kinds of things that have been done this last year. You read through this stuff, I don't know if you had a chance to look at it, but my gosh, I mean, look at all the stuff they've done in a year. It's
Yeah.
really incredible. I've always been impressed with that. So anyway, the first part is just these, some of the board highlights. You should have gotten an email asking if you had anything to add as far as the highlights. And it mentions the surveys and the Wyoming trip to the northern Arapahoe, the senior recreation coordinator. Well, you can read for yourself. And those are the kinds of things that we did. Actually, if you put down all the things that we did, I think it would be a couple, 3 pages. You know, it's literally just the highlights. So is there anything anybody would like to add to the highlights this far? No? Okay. And the goals are pretty much the same, except we're going to continue housing transportation outreach. We made a motion last time to make recommendations to the city council, whatever they are, in April. Continue our outreach to underserved communities and develop relationships. We've talked a lot about that. Just the conversation we had just now was a lot of this stuff. You know, so I think in my opinion, in the 3 years that I've been here on the board, there's a lot more talk, a lot more interest in developing relations with other community organizations than there was. That's great. That's just, I think that's the way to go. The new goals strengthen the Friends connection, and we're working on that. We'll continue to work. And new areas and weekends programs. I did have a question on that, Ronnie. How are you going to be collecting data on the kinds of people, the number of people, and all that kind of stuff that come during the weekend and evening?
Absolutely. So our goal is to assess the impact these additional hours are having on our guests. Who's coming? What attendance numbers look like? We'll look at registration enrollment numbers as well for each group. Are these programs are these programs drawing in our guests in these evening hours? Do we need to evaluate and bring in different programs? So it's just going to be an evaluation period for a while to see what is working, what the need is, what is build on what's working, and make adjustments when we need to bring in new programs as well.
And you asked a question earlier about the kind of where the money comes from. And if I added this up correctly, we get a lot of money from Friends. I added up $94,419. If it's listed in this report. That
This
sound
board
about right,
does?
Chuck? About
The
95,000?
senior center.
The senior center.
What did I say?
No, you did.
Yeah,
You're right.
you did.
You're right.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, that,
Thank you, Chuck.
yeah. It wasn't in person.
I'm right by that.
Yeah, there you
Okay, so anyway, that's, unless you want to add something, the value of this, in my opinion, is I have consulted this annual report in previous years, I don't know how many times. And so this is good for the record. So if you need to look things up. So, Ronnie, I'm not going to ask you to go through everything, but why don't you hit what you think is important?
Yeah, absolutely. And, just like Dave said, this is just a quick, I would say one pager, definitely not one page, but a quick resource to pull in information for the past year. Again, the work we're doing, who we're serving. Quick highlights, our door count for this past year, we had 88,209 total visits. We'll put visits, not guests, because those are repeating guests as well in that number, but over 88,000 visits this past year, and that number continues to go up every single year as our community continues to grow and we continue to offer new programs here at the Senior Center. Meals on Wheels served 9,875 total meals on site, so almost 10,000 meals out of our location here, Monday through Friday. And delivered an average of 467 meals per day to our customers. So again, I know we talked about that earlier, just the impact Meals on Wheels has on our community, right? John mentioned that it was number 2 to Denver, right? And we see it. We see the amount of people we bring in. I volunteer bi-weekly, twice a month to be a part of that, just to see who's coming in, have conversations with our guests, be that support to, not only be that support, but I think it's more for our guests to see me in a different space as well, right? Serving their food and just making that personal connection. So, Meals on Wheels is doing a fantastic job. Our SETC group, who provides free programs or very low cost programs to support our seniors with technology, offering classes to teach them about these devices, teach them about technology, or just helping them troubleshoot their own devices that they bring in. They had 184 total sessions this past year, 2,656 participants for their programs and those drop-ins. And they had 825 total program hours. Out of those 825 total program hours, we had 31 volunteers who contributed 5,600 total hours towards that work. So yes, those 825 total hours are the programs themselves, But again, the prep before, the prep after, and the work during total 5,600 total hours for those 31 volunteers. So, just again, highlighting the work we're doing out of our senior center. Our tax aid, this past year, we had 989 total clients come through the senior center for tax aid support. And those volunteers helped 712 of them file federal and income state tax returns. Our supportive services team, we talked about every board meeting. We talked about the great work that they're providing, and the services they're providing here in our community. This past year, 1,358 total individuals were served out of the senior center, while also providing 422 counseling sessions for 67 individuals as well. They also provided 355 group sessions for 101 individuals who participated and attended, and offered 248 programs with respect to resource and caregiver education and support as well. So our team that does a lot of work outside of those one-on-one appointments with their clients. Our senior recreation services team, we have Amy in attendance today. This speaks to a lot of the work her team does. They offered 610 programs this past year, with 9,094 total participants registered for our programs. And so this is also during a transition where we are working to have for our drop-in programs to keep better attendance, whether it be signing in or registering through our online registration system for those as well. But we have 9,094 total participants registered through our registration system. So again, that I just wanted to point out, we're also missing some numbers in there as well as we made this transition. So I would say it's easy to say over 10,000 participants this past year. CEPs, with support of the Friends as well, put on free programs every month. We had 1,193 participants for our free programs this past year. And so, what's very important about that is we have individuals in our community that don't always get to pay for our programs, right? And the support Friends provides for us to offer these free programs, showing that we had almost 1,200 participants in those programs. It just speaks volumes about what it is we offer, who we're supporting, and again, just the work that our Friends does to support us as well. SETC. And with that, this past year, we offered 83 programs in Spanish, which is 30 more from 2022. As we discussed with the board, we're being very intentional with that. Hiring a bilingual recreation programmer to help grow and build our Spanish programs. And she hasn't been with us for a full year. And the fact that she's already increased that by 30 more programs from 2022 is pretty awesome, and shows her dedication to that work as well. Our SETC, Senior Center Tech Connect group, again, another free program as well. Oh no, I already hit SETC, sorry about that. We also have our Knit and Pearl group, who we provide space here at the Senior Center, donated 1,976 total items, clothing, hats, blankets across the community. Coupled with our lap robes group, which donated 263 lap robes for babies, children, and teens in our community as well. So again, just the reason why I pointed this out is just to highlight the tremendous work that our volunteer groups are doing, as well as our support services and our recreation program services team is doing as well for our seniors and for our community. I talk about it all the time, how fortunate I am to have this collection of professionals, but to see their work in action and how passionate they are every single day, it's just incredible. So I'm very fortunate that I get to be here with them and be a part of this process and contribute to the work that they are doing. So, any questions for me on the staff side?
That's a lot of stuff.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot, and it's a lot to celebrate.
Yeah.
I have a comment.
Yes, sir.
You're open 8 to 5, 5 days a week.
Yes.
That's, and you're off. It's closed 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So that's 2,250 hours. That's a lot of stuff happening in 2,250 hours.
Right.
When you look at the numbers relative to that number, that's a very high percentage of participation or effort, I guess you could say.
Right.
Congratulations. Job well done.
Let me check.
You know, I keep hearing from people that I've run into, it says, God, your senior center here in Longmont is just great. They offer so much, they do so much. I keep hearing such good things about the senior center in comparison to others. People have said, I came from so-and-so and we don't have anything like that here. And so I think we have to really commend the people who work here on keeping this going and participating in a way, making it the quality organization that it is. Because you guys have done a great job. And I think everybody should be applauded for it, because we are known for being one of the finest senior centers around.
And, I was invited to the Boulder County AAA meeting that was here in June. I think you're both in attendance, right?
Yeah.
Right? And kind of, what's that?
So is John.
Oh, yeah. I kind of over a lot of this and just bringing awareness of what we do out of this facility. And, went through all of it. Everyone was nice, it was quiet. And then when I got to the very end, it was just a holy cow. Like, we didn't realize you did all of that out of this facility. And so just bringing that awareness, right, to that group specifically, who you think would have good tabs on what we're and knowledge of what's coming out of here, was just was appalled. And then they shared that information because we didn't know, so which is awesome.
And I think too, because we meet with all the different senior centers, the BCAA, Boulder County Agency on Aging, meets every month at a different senior center, so we get to see what the differences are. And when people came here, they were like, I think we should make the meeting here permanently, because I like it here, it's nice.
Yeah.
A little cold. That day it was a little cold.
One thing I'd really like to see is if we make a presentation to the city council next April, I would like that, this is too much to throw at them all at once, but I would sure like to see some sort of graphics or something that could summarize this so they get the impact of everything that you do, because they don't know it. They know what you do, but they don't understand, unless you hear this kind of stuff,
Right.
what you really do.
You could see when we were talking to them, they were kind of really leaning into it and listening, because they were surprised at some of the things that were going on.
Yep.
And like I said to everybody, don't be nervous about talking to them. You know more than they do.
Yeah.
They don't know what goes on. You need to be the one to educate them. So I think even to have something of a written, that we could give to them, to read at a later time, or to, to look through, to keep that they could refer to. I think that might be a good idea too.
Yeah.
Almost like a standard presentation, but in writing. So they would have it as a reference that they could use, and it would probably help them, because then if they had questions moving forward, they'd be able to refer back to it. So.
Absolutely, and we can work on that. I have no problem pulling that together as well.
Yeah.
While I have Amy here, I think it's important for her to share some of the feedback she's gotten from attending the CPRA meetings about Spanish programs specifically, but also what we offer in comparison to the other cities. Is that okay?
Sure. Yeah, and I was just texting Ronnie, one of the things we're talking about doing on our Go, for a former facility, we did just an annual snapshot that made it more visible, everything we have completed in the last year. So that's something we're looking at doing here for our summer issue coming up. So we'll have all of the data from 2024, that summer issue of 2025, we'll have that just page spread of only, 400 fitness classes just for this facility, and that was really successful. So I think that's a great idea to have those infographics. CPRA is Colorado's Parks and Recreation Association. I'm currently the chair of their board for the Active Aging Programs and Services. section. And we meet quarterly as well as have board meetings monthly. There is no other facility that has a Spanish program, let alone the capacity of the Spanish program that we are doing. So that was a huge piece of feedback, and kudos to not only those who helped set this program up for success, but the continued growth of it. When you look at the quantity of programs we are doing just for seniors, there isn't a comparison that we have found in the state. So there are a lot of things going very well here. We're also really trying to share what has been successful and how it became successful. Brandy came to one of our section meetings and talked about kind of how the Friends was formed. We had SJ from SCTC speak at that meeting about how they formed, so that these types of services, while we're very happy to have them here, how can we share how it became successful with other facilities so that more people can have those supports? So we are being looked to as a resource statewide, and I think that speaks highly to all of the work this team and our community coming to our services collaborates on together.
And also, you said no other facility offers not only the recreation services, but the supportive services as well, correct?
Yeah, it is very rare to have supportive services as a part of a senior center. There are some facilities who maybe have one staff member who helps with those types of resources, but the quality and level that we have here, it doesn't exist. This is the first entity that I've worked at that has anything like it. And it's such a need, so that's huge.
Thanks, Amy.
Thanks.
Oh, thank you. Good report. Thank you. Where are we? We're behind schedules where we are. Friends liaison. Okay. I went to the Friends meeting last, I guess it was 3 weeks ago already. Anyway, I'm not going to report on all of the budget details. There was a lot of discussion about the budget. And like I said, I don't have that material with me anyway. I'm going to talk about what I think was the reaction to what I reported. I reported that we made a presentation to the city council. And most of the folks, I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, if I go wrong here, but I don't think most of the people in the Friends group knew that we made a presentation to the city council. And they were very interested, I think, and they wanted copies of the presentation that we made, and I think those were distributed. You sent those out the same day, I think. So there was a lot of interest in what we talked about, and the fact that we talked to the city council. They said, somebody suggested, I forget who it was, that they could have gone, if they had known, they would have gone to the city council meeting. And I think that would have been fantastic. You know, we had, what did we have, about 6 people or so, you know, at the city council meeting that evening. But if we had the Friends group, we'd have another double the size at least, and I think that could have been helpful. It's always helpful to have some more faces in the audience. So I think next year, if we do that presentation, we need to make a point of including the Friends group if they wish to come. They were very interested in working with us, I think. And I got the sense that you know, you've got a fair amount of money available and you want to spend it in the best place possible. So they're certainly willing to listen to input from us as to how we might spend it on whatever, you know, resources, staff, programs, you know, I don't know, whatever. So my thinking was, what I took away from the meeting, and again, correct me if I got this wrong, that it's kind of up to us to come up with maybe some suggestions to the Friends group and have them consider different programs. You know, for example, this is just an example. I went through the aging will thing. I don't know if you've read through this, but that was, I thought it was really very well done. Lots of information there. One area that kind of struck me was the need for employment of a lot of people and older people. And Arlene and I were talking about this before. Maybe that would be something that we could develop somehow. Find employment sources, employment funding for seniors. And possibly, now what you said earlier, Christina, about the budget for year after next doesn't look too good, but still we might be able to find some resources for employment, and maybe the Friends group that might be able to help on that. That's just an example. I don't know if that's viable or not. I haven't fleshed it out. But I'm just throwing that out as, when we go to our meeting next week, that's what I'd ask you to think of. Are there things that there's a need that somehow we could complement that need and work with the Friends group on it? So that's, I guess I said my last point here. So the question is, I think everybody's on board as far as wanting to do something. Like Chuck has said a couple times, we're all trying to serve the same group. And so the only question is what, why, and how. Yes, sir.
If I could interject on just one item. The Friends Charter essentially says that we fund activities here at the senior center. So if there would be a need of some effort that you're doing, okay, where we could provide funds here at the senior center to facilitate that, I think that is something the board would entertain.
Right. We could have an employment specialist here. That might work.
Yeah.
Anyway, again, that's just an idea. Yes, ma'am.
Have you already considered helping out the food insecurity thing yet? Do we have to do anything to get that moving, or how does that?
Well, I've asked John to make a presentation at our next meeting.
Okay.
So.
I figured there was something in the works, but I wanted to.
I think a few brief comments were made and eyebrows went up because an awful lot of this, well, we have a number of our board members that are still actively working in business, and they did not realize how extensive this problem is. I kind of knew because I've had conversations with John, but not everybody is, let's say, up to speed. So I've asked John to make a presentation at our next meeting, kind of put the numbers together, because I've heard some pretty remarkable numbers right here. So you're much more knowledgeable than our group. So.
Great.
I think the other piece that was brought up in the Friends board meeting was to look at the senior center strategic plan and kind of where the team, the division sees themselves going in the next 5 years, and really being able to front load that information as these kinds of things move forward. We had our department retreat last Friday. And so we're looking at what kinds of data we want to collect to really drive that, for this division specifically, drive that process. And so I think once that that work is more solidified, I think sharing it with this group, sharing it with the Friends, so that you all know kind of what that direction looks like. And of course it's informed by a lot of the data that has already been collected.
Yes, ma'am.
Amy, isn't there something, I haven't read it thoroughly, in the new Go about having an employment meeting here or something?
Yes, I think Brandy would know the most.
Job fair.
Job fair?
Yeah.
So there is a job fair. It's in the CEPs and special events section, page 10-ish. And that is directly for ages 55 and older, what opportunities are available in the community. Brandy's doing the main organizing on that. But we do have that here on site.
Okay, so that'll
I've got
help.
it. September 24th.
All right, and the final item under that is a representative to the Friends Group. Anybody want to? I'll say right off that I wouldn't mind because I'm kind of invested in it. And so if anybody, unless somebody really, really wants to arm wrestle for it, I've been lifting weights.
I think you'd be a great choice. So
Okay.
if you wanna take it
Yeah,
on.
I believe in collaboration. I really do. And that's the kind of stuff you do. So if there's no objection, I'll be the liaison for a while.
Thank you.
All right?
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, new business. Now, commentary. I don't know if I pronounced that quite right. Maria.
Hi. Bueno, we start getting ready for the fair that this Saturday will be. So, and some people sign up ready to help us. So if you want to help us and you didn't sign, so you can help signing here. So, Señor Quintana and I went to the committee and meet with Lisa Salazar and Edwina. And then we discussed about how we can help each other to recruit more people, Hispanic people, so they can have the service there and we can bring here. So yesterday I stopped by to see what will be on me for the fair. So Señor Quintana will be the 8 to 12, and I'm planning to be there the 11 to 3, or until they finish the fair. So he has another compromise, so he has to be in the middle of the day. But I'm planning to be 1 hour before him. And also I invite one of my daughters who are bilingual to help us in case we have somebody who speaks English, so she can help to that translation. Right. So she will be, I don't know if he earlier than me or during that time that I will be there. So, and we will try to encourage the people to come and see what we have for them and pass information about the services that we have. And I think that we are ready, so, and excited to see what we can do. So if you want to help us, doesn't matter if you want to speak Spanish, or somebody will be there who can help you. So, questions? You have some questions?
I have a big cooler. John volunteered to bring water,
Yes.
so we got that. Do you think one big cooler will be enough? You think? Okay, good. So we're all set with that. I'm gonna come by and get the tent. Okay.
That was my question yesterday. I stopped by, but he was so busy. So I stopped by to see, so where we can get our tents, and so Señor Quintana will be there tonight to set up the stuff. And
So do you need help setting up?
yeah, I think, yeah.
So I can come early, whatever time you need.
Okay. So he will start 8 to 12 to set up and then start, and then I will be like 11 to stay until they done. And then if you help us, it will be so great. But also, if the people are there and we need to pass information or talk to them, so. And also, I think there will be bilingual people who will be there. Yeah.
So we'll be there at 8 to set up?
Yes, it's what the Señor Quintana said.
Okay. I can come by Friday and you can show me how to set the tent up.
Yeah.
And then I'll put it in my car and we'll bring it on Saturday.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you. What was my question? So it was my question there. Who can help to bring the stuff there?
Now, how about the material?
Yep, we're all ready to go. So we got a box over there.
Yeah.
Now we grab another
box.
box of goes. So we have 2 boxes of goes, but then we also have packets that are just in Spanish as well.
Okay.
So the Spanish section of the go, we made copies and stapled them together.
All right, good.
Then we also have Meals on Wheels pamphlets as well. So,
Okay, I can put it in my car today and have it ready for 7. Yeah, also I can buy it and drop in there and then come back at 11 too. For me, it's the midnight to 3 is a lot, so that's why I'm planning to be at least 4 hours there for sure. Yeah, but I can bring other material in my car today. I think.
Perfect. Yep, and I have everything ready to go.
And one thing I didn't think of, tables, are they supplying tables?
I don't think so.
We'll take a look.
Okay.
No, we have a lot of tips.
I think we could slide them into my car.
Yeah. So you said you have a Subaru.
Subaru out there.
Yeah, yeah.
What are you gonna do on Friday?
Friday.
I'm gonna need help.
Okay.
We're gonna get a lot of ice Saturday morning, do you think?
Where can you?
Bags of ice for the cooler, for water.
I think like Walmart, any big King Supers, you know, Safeway, any big grocery store. John.
What's that?
See if you can get them to donate.
I love it.
Wear your tag, that's right, have that tag on.
350, 11.
Then I think we're all set with the fair, right?
Extra one there.
Yeah, sure. I released some copies this morning to the people who need to see what is the address, who we need.
Oh,
I
there's
got
no
some
address
ready
on
for
it?
the meeting start,
So it's
but I have extras. So if somebody want more information, I have here. So
Maria,
it's
just quickly, what did you think of meeting with the people from El Comité?
It was nice. It was nice, and then we're planning to have contact to see what events they have or we have. Yeah, and try to they refer the people who will need our services here.
And they may be helpful with getting the word out about the food distribution too.
Yeah.
You know, we may be able to use their resources
Yeah, it
to
was
let
a
their
nice
people
meeting,
know.
yeah.
They used to do food distribution out of El Comité. I don't know if they still are. I think they used to get food from community food share.
Yeah.
So
I
that'd
don't
be
know if
another
they still
place.
do, but if they
I could
do,
call them.
after the pandemic, everything changed.
Uh-huh.
That's why I
Yeah.
can say yes on that, because they changed a lot, so.
Okay.
Questions? Well, I see you there Saturday.
Yes.
Okay.
Looking forward.
Okay, well, thank you, Maria. Good work. A lot of good work being done here. All right, new subcommittees. I put that on because I'm just thinking, let me just think out loud here. I'm thinking we got 5 more meetings, September, October, November, December, and January. We've got 5 more meetings to kind of get our stuff together as far as any recommendations we might want to make. So if there's anything that you want to work on, myself included, time is growing short. Those 5 meetings are going to go by very quickly. I'm glad we got started on, food insecurity, because that's, more complex than it appears, always appears. Anyway, I would suggest, I'm not saying anybody has to do anything. What I'm suggesting is, if you go to the data presentation next week, I think there's going to be all kinds of ideas that might come up. And I mentioned one that kind of struck me. But you might listen for ideas, or you might want to make a contribution, or you might want to work, or you might want to make a project out of it, or something like that, as not only your own effort, but as a group effort. And at our next meeting, I think we don't necessarily have to have everything done by, decided by the next meeting, but I think we need to start thinking about it. And so we need to start moving towards, bringing things together. So that's all I really wanted to say about that particular item, unless there's anything today that anybody wants to bring up. All right then. Okay, I think we might finish a little early today. Manager's report.
All right, there you all have my report. Just some quick highlights. The city has completed the work on our front entrance with our to ensure our sidewalk is ADA compliant. So what they did, if you haven't noticed walking in, or you came in through the east entrance, the old ramp, the old incline, they covered up, and so rounded that off, and moved the ADA sidewalk compliant. I can't even think of the ramp, I guess, to the side a little bit. And so what that did, it allows more space. Well, a couple things. Quicker access from those walking from the sidewalk, from the parking lot to get to that part of the sidewalk. Also, it allows those who are being dropped off through via or any other mobility resource to especially with the lift, to have that space at the very, very front to be dropped off. Easier access to get inside of our facility, and again, that ramp is still accessible to anybody else walking from the parking lot as well. So there's that, and also right next to the handicap parking, they redid that ramp as well. Before it was just more of a slope going into the parking lot during winter hours, winter season. It would pull in a lot of water and create a lot of ice, and so so they redid all of that area. And if you take a look at it, I don't know if you all noticed, but they redid all of it to where it's almost the ramp and then the sidewalk. So instead of having one big slope, it has the ADA compliant sidewalk installed as well. So a lot of good work. I'm very impressed how quickly the city was not only to address that need, but also just the quick turnaround. I mean, during closure that they had, when we first brought it up, I'd say less than 3 months to get everything in order to have that work done during closure, and that's not standard practice. There's a lot of hoops to go through, but again, they made it an urgent need and was able to address it right away. So there was that. Also, some work was done outside of our the south side of our gymnasium, our emergency exit right there. Before, there was a small patch of pavement and then giant rocks. So we ran into an issue where we had a faulty alarm. So there was no fires, a faulty alarm sounded during one of our CEPs. We had to have our guests exit out the entrance, and as soon as we got out the door, we realized there's the giant rocks everywhere, as is that sidewalk in it, so we realized we have an issue. And so we brought that up as well, and so we were able to extend the sidewalk out to the grass, which the grass is our location for our evacuation site location. So easier access, anybody has a walking device, wheelchair, can now easily exit the gymnasium to that grass area. So they worked on that, worked on some landscaping, and they're still wrapping up some of the landscaping pieces right now. But they did go around our facility, trim the bushes, trimmed a lot of our bushes, got rid of a lot of dead trees, more so on the north side of our building. Our main entrance, where they redid the sidewalk as well, we have that sculpture piece up there. They redid the landscaping over there, and it's easier to access and go back there where the sculpture is as well. So very pleased with the work that they've done. Following up with them to see what our timeline is for the remaining items, but a lot of work over closure. So before I move on to the next one, any questions on that work? Okay. So that was outside. Inside, we had a lot of cosmetic work done inside of our building. As you can tell, our in this room specifically, they replaced our carpets. We have a blue carpet now to match the lobby, and took our cream color paint around all of our classrooms and painted it white now. So I think it creates a much brighter feel. It makes the room feel much bigger. And most of our rooms got an accent wall painted as well. So we had a lot of cosmetic work done. We moved some furniture around in our lobby, and it just kind of makes it, again, it makes that space feel bigger as well. A lot of positive feedback from our guests. Amy got a lot of it, Brandy got a lot of it, and our front desk is hearing a lot of it. They're just, some quick highlights is it just feels fresh. It feels like a fresh new building. It feels like a brand new building. I went and checked in on a couple groups before I came into this board meeting, and did the same thing. It was like, wow, it feels like a whole new building. And for us, for them, they're doing, I think it was what, Nimprol? They're doing their work. They said, with the white walls, it just feels brighter and allows us to see the work we're doing better. So just a lot of positive feedback all the way around. Let's see, what am I missing? I think those ones. August 15th, here at the Senior Center, 2 p.m., we have that Boulder County AAA Presentation 2004 report. Hopefully everybody can make it. If not, and that invite that was sent to you, the packet is attached to it as well. So again, just a reminder that is here at the Senior Center, August 15th in room D&E.
Does everybody know what that presentation is about? Everybody know? Okay, just want to check.
Staffing update as we're getting closer to September, where we are expanding our hours. We have our 2 candidates identified. One of them started with us July 29th, and the other one HR is working to on board as well. So we're excited to have Becky and Iesha to support us in the evening hours. And we have finalized our schedule with our supportive services team as well to offer supportive services 2 nights out of the week, Tuesdays and Thursdays. Tuesdays and Thursdays. So we will be able to offer, again, recreation services and support services for expanded hours as well. As mentioned, we're going to continue to assess, who is coming to receive these supports during those extended hours, and from there evaluate, do we need to expand, or do we need to shift? Do we need to shift our, instead of Tuesday and Thursday, is it Monday and Wednesday? But again, we're just going to take things a little slow to assess, collect data, information to figure out what direction we need to go and where adjustments need to be made. All right. I'll hit on those things. Any questions for me?
I noticed that it's not really a question. Caregivers are just struggling more than usual right now. That kind of hit me. I wonder why.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you're up to date on counseling and supportive services.
Right. And that'd be a good question for Brandy, but the information I have is just, again, as our community continues to grow for our 55 and older population, a lot of individuals are taking on that caregiving role, right? And so, the supports our supportive services team is giving them the resources they need to be successful. The information we have is just it's a new role, right? We're learning it. We're learning it, and it's not an easy role to take on. So
I saw in the report the data report that the aging population is going up. We know all that, but the caregiving population is going down. Like LPNs and nursing assistants, that sort of thing.
it's a tough job.
Yeah.
It's a tough job.
And the minimum pay doesn't match the cost of living for a person with a kid or two. It's just a bad situation.
Ronnie?
Yes, sir.
One of the things with peer support, I do volunteer work there. A lot of the caregivers are aging as well.
Yeah.
And the demands just become overwhelming. So it's a zero-sum game. They just can't keep up with the need. They want to keep people at home. Even reports from Aging Well say people want, age at home. Caregivers don't want their spouse or whoever to go into foster whatever care facility. So the demand is incredible.
Taking care of their needs.
And they can, some with dementia, that can switch. Dementia can accelerate very quickly in an environment from we can communicate really well till he's walked off and I can't find him in a week. So it's a pretty fluid situation.
So
increasing demands.
One of the things that we had found was the caregiver actually is going to pass away before the care receiver because of all the stress on them. So any way that they can be helped, at least is going to get them through that. But then that leaves that person with no one. So, yeah, it's hard. It's hard. Ronnie, I just had a question. It's just really a curiosity one.
Yeah.
On these two people that were found ineligible because of their age for subsidized housing, is that because they were under 55?
I gotta go back to the minutes, I'm sorry. We got our eviction.
The younger folks were not yet eligible for subsidized senior housing due to age. So does that mean they were under
Yes.
55?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Sorry, these, it takes me a second to reflect. These notes come to me way before I prepared this report, but yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Ronnie, for the report. One last item. Oh, I'm sorry. No, it isn't. City Council liaisons, not here, of course, are aging.
Just
Anything-
that we have the data presentation again on the 15th, is it? Okay. On the 15th of August, 2 o'clock in the afternoon here at the Senior Center, Lindsay Neville will give her full presentation of all the data for 2023. Correct? 23, right?
It's the 2024 report for 2023.
Right. And it's got huge amounts. I saw the presentation that she did at the BCAA meeting or the AAC meeting. And yeah, it's got huge amount of information. It's very interesting. If you can make it, I would definitely recommend it. And that's it.
Okay, friends have already reported on that. Sustainability, there was no meeting this month. And the last thing that I have is, I handed out a packet on the various legislative bills that we talked about.
Yeah.
Like this. Could have been, do I have enough copies? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Could have been just about enough copies. And the first one is senior property tax exemption portability. Okay, everybody got this? Okay, this is not as overwhelming as it looks. It's mainly white space. So it's a lot of pages with a lot of white space. So I'm just gonna go through this quickly. I don't know if all of you are up to date on this. I wasn't. I had to go through and kind of refresh my memory on some of this. But and I'm not sure, this legalese is not easy to understand sometimes. So if someone understands it differently than I do, please say something. But on the senior property tax exemption portability, that lost. Okay. Then the next one, on page 3, expand homestead exemptions, that lost. So if you go back to page 20, go to page 18. That passed. And as I understand it, that is a 2-year, maybe you know more about this than I do. That's a 2-year proposal for 2025 and 2026. It ends in 2027. And what that does is it allows the homestead exemption if you apply to the county assessor's office and you otherwise qualify. I'll use myself as an example. We moved to Colorado in 2014. Okay, I am not eligible for this, so this kicks in 2025 because the start date is on 2014, I think it's up. So I am not eligible. But I am eligible for the regular exemption in 2025 because that'll be 10 years for us. This is, as I see it, this was an interim bill for the 2 years that I was talking about to provide some seniors with property tax relief for those 2 years. And you may want to read through it yourself because I'm not sure I explained it very well. But there was a law that gave some relief. Okay. Is anybody gonna contradict me on that? Okay, well, that's what it is then.
I think the other thing is as you look toward the next legislative session,
Yes,
if you identify bills that could impact seniors either positively or negatively, we have one of our assistant city managers, Sandy Cedar, it tracks all of these bills for us. And we can take an official city position on them. And so if you have a list of those bills, we can ask her to track them. And then as they come up for votes, then she would send a link to Ronnie so that he could, based on the feedback of this board, take a position on them. And it goes to Sandy, and then she does the rest of it.
would she consider coming to this group?
I'm sure she would, to talk about bill tracking.
Yes.
Yeah, I can follow up on that.
Okay, I think that would be really useful. All right, then, that's exactly what I had in mind, by the way,
Okay,
was to
perfect.
to follow up on something like that. On page 6, remember we talked about accessory dwelling units? This has been in the paper a couple of times. That passed, it became law, and so that means that people can put, what do you call them?
ADU,
Pardon me?
ADUs,
Yeah, I was gonna call it, grandmother
mother-in-law,
apartments or something
mother-in-law.
like that,
Yeah.
so they can put additional units in their home. And this bill says that they can, and it prohibits the local jurisdictions from saying you can't. So that's when we wrote a letter to our representatives and to our senators. So, to see what the power of the letter did. Okay. And then senior housing income tax credit. That was a reinstatement, that's on page 9. I don't know too much about that, but there was apparently a tax credit in some circumstances that you could get that has been reinstated. It passed, became law August 7th today. And so you can read through that at your leisure. Then on page 11 is the local government's right to property for affordable housing. That passed, and that became law today also. And I remember we had a fairly long discussion on that with Marcia. Anyway, as I said, that passed, and that means that that gives the local jurisdiction the right of first refusal to buy a public property, which I think is wonderful myself. A lot of people in the community probably wouldn't like it. If I wasn't aware of the housing shortage, I'm not so sure I'd like it. But with the housing shortage, it's what we need, in my opinion. And then on page 16. Oh, yeah, I think we all know this. Lonnie, I don't know if you want to say anything on this, but the Senate Bill 24040 on funding for senior services, basically to be reviewed every 3 years, a mandatory requirement to review social services funding passed, and that became law also. I don't remember, did they get their full allocation, do you know? They did not?
They had to, it was negotiated down.
No.
So a lot.
A lot?
I think it went from 10 to 2,
Yeah, it was quite a bit.
10 million to 2 million.
Well, at least we got the law in place. And then on page 17, prohibit residential occupancy laws. That means you can't have just one person, or you cannot have family, as I recall. I'm doing from memory on this, but I think that's what that was. So there were several bills that we were interested in that we talked in that passed. And like I say, in my opinion, it's a good one. So, you can just keep this for reference. That's no action required or anything, except that I would like to follow up and get ourselves in a position, if we do want to make a comment or support some kind of a bill, that we get our ducks in order ahead of time.
I just sent an email, so, yeah, we'll hear back from Sandy.
Anybody else have anything for the meeting today? I must have done something wrong, finishing early.
So
Yes,
I sent something to Ronnie
was it you that I sent something to about the fair at the YMCA? Oh,
Was
Dave,
me, yeah.
right. There's a fair at the YMCA and it has to do with international participation. Groups from different countries or different cultures are going to participate. But as Dave told me, they don't know that the people participating or will be attending will be of the senior age group. The thought was that possibly a lot of the people participating are not in the older population, they are younger.
Yeah.
So did you felt that it wasn't?
That was just my feeling. Ronnie and I talked it over a little bit. It was just our feeling that there's nothing wrong with it. People want to go fine, except that it's a different population than the one we're after. It's mainly a younger population. And so you got to think about time and resources and staff and all that kind of thing. So, you know, if you want to go fine, but
To actually get a booth wouldn't really be
yeah,
good use of our
wouldn't be that
time or
productive.
energy.
It's kind of our
Okay,
judgment.
that's what I wanted to put out,
Yeah.
see what people thought.
Yes, ma'am.
But if anybody sees anything going on in the community that you think we might want to
Sure.
represent it at,
Sure.
just make sure you bring it up.
We missed the fair. We missed the fair parade.
Yeah.
So I just want to say that I like this picture. Now, this is strictly my opinion. I felt very strongly that the one previously was very unflattering to seniors. That's just my opinion, but I like this one.
It's getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
It is.
Pretty impressive.
Compliments daily.
All right, anything else before this group? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. John, Lonnie seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. See you next month.